It's a beautiful October morning here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm with artist Destiny Allison in her studio. Destiny, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with you about you and your work.
Nancy, thank you so much for being here. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm just loving being in your studio and looking, oh my God, look at all the wonderful paintings. And this is amazing. I mean, I can't wait to get to the part where I talk about your process. That's paint everywhere.
Paint everywhere.
It's really fun. My first question is about your transition from sculpture to painting. So for decades, you were a top-selling successful sculptor working with steel
And some bronze.
and bronze. Okay. And the past several years, your work has switched to painting. And I find that amazing. Not many artists can make such an impressive switch in mediums. It's from 3D to 2D. It's from steel and bronze to canvas, and both in large scale. So what was your motivation to switch mediums?
I'm looking for a deeper expression, a broader expression. Sculpture is poetry, painting is a symphony. And then there's also the physical toll in my body. I mean, that was definitely a huge influence, although it wasn't the driving force. I'd started to move to painting well before my body started showing the effects of years of welding and grinding and lifting heavy sculptures. But I wanted to do something, I wanted to develop an expression that I could take with me for the rest of my life. And I love painting. It's physical for me, it's vigorous, it's all kinds of crazy slashing, splashing motion. But there's so many opportunities to approach something from multiple different angles because of the colors that I'm using, because of the shapes that appear in the work as I'm going. Sculpture it's just joy.
It sounds like you're really enjoying this whole new medium of painting over
like
sculpture.
A kindergartner with a new box of crayons. It's all of me.
Oh, that's great. That's so good. And I can see that it is all of you. I can see all that movement that you were talking about in the painting.
Yeah.
What is your main inspiration for creating your art? Or I guess I could say, what kind of response do you want your work to offer while people are viewing it?
Two very loaded questions, Nancy.
I know you can handle it.
All right. So the first one, what inspires me? My dad was a huge inspiration. He used to take me up to the roof of our house in Santa Fe and watch the sunsets with me. And there was one day where it was such an agonizingly beautiful sunset. I was about 10, I think. And I told him it was hard to breathe. And he looked at me and he said, Destiny, the beauty that you see in the world is just a reflection of the beauty that's inside you. That was a really profound question. And as I grew up and grew older, I pushed that question a little farther and said, if the beauty that I see in the world is a reflection of the beauty I see in myself, is the ugliness too. And that has been a driver for me through all of my art, my books, everything I've done. But over the last several years, I think nature has become my biggest inspiration because it is a reflection of humanity as a whole. You know, every plant out there is its own unique individual thing, going through its own unique individual struggle. But simultaneously, every plant that you see is also working in tandem or competing with everything else around it for resources, for water, for nutrients, for rain. The sun burns one and doesn't burn the other, but here's this myriad composition of life and abundant life. And so I use nature as a metaphor for the things that I want to talk about in my work. The things that I'm experiencing as a human, because very often the answers I'm looking for are found in nature. But I don't want to be a landscape painter.
I'm really glad that you brought up nature because when we were going through your wonderful farm, homestead house, so your studio is on the property of your home, and you have several acres.
About 8.5 acres.
8.5 acres, and you've made orchards and gardens, you have chickens, you have turkeys
And ducks, your little duck pond, yeah.
and ducks, and so you spend probably a good part of your day with nature, with animals, and you're
Yeah,
planting.
and just taking walks just down the hill here. There's an arroyo, which for those of you who don't know what an arroyo is, it's basically a sand wash, and it's a beautiful path that changes almost every day. And so when I take my dog for a walk, we get to experience those changes. And so this year this tree is alive, next year this tree is dead, the different wildflowers bloom. I mean, it's remarkable how much change happens in an almost instant.
It sounds like there's a immediate connection between your surroundings and your home and your connection with nature and your paintings.
Absolutely.
And how does that work into your process?
Well, I think it starts. I start. That's a really good question. Start again. When I first started painting, I was like many painting landscapes, and landscapes weren't giving me what I was after, but because I'm so inspired by nature, I'm so in awe of the natural world around us, but to try to repeat that, replicate that on a canvas or a panel, it diminishes it for me. And I'm more interested in what's happening underneath. You know, when I was a kid in school, our class painted a big mural on the wall at EJ Elementary School, and all the other kids were painting trees and flowers and butterflies, and I painted the roots of a mushroom. My class was furious with me. My teacher was furious with me because I turned this really beautiful, pretty kids mural into something kind of foreboding and dark, and that mural was on the wall for years. But I'm looking for something beyond the pretty picture. I'm looking for the complexity, the interconnectedness, the struggle for life, why things fight so hard to stay alive when the world is so hard. And so that informs me tremendously, and I start almost always every painting with nature's palettes. I use earth tones, and I use bright yellows, and I use sky blues, and by the time I finish a painting, it doesn't look anything like that. But I have laid the groundwork for a deeper exploration. Like the piece you're looking at right here, I call Courage. And I started it with yellows and really fluffy, happy things. And then, and then I added greens. I actually added things that looked like leaves to this. But I was after something. I was after something like, well, honestly, it's all the changes in the world lately have had me and my husband and pretty much everybody I know going through bouts of lying in bed and binge watching TV shows. And I was looking at why and what do I need to do about it. And I thought I would find the answers in my garden. But ultimately I found that yellow and green weren't my colors. That really red was my color. The heartstrings, the pull, the passion and love and commitment. These are the things, holding on to our principles. These are the things that keep the universe at bay. As an example, this painting called The Closer We Get, ... was inspired by me kneeling down in my garden looking for some garden shears, and it has to do with the closer we get, the less we understand, but the importance of intimacy and vulnerability. This painting, called Resolute, is inspired by like it on a rock. I was feeling hard and like I needed to block out the onslaught of the news, and I was trying to figure out how to live with that because it didn't feel good. And the lichen on a piece of granite reminded me that the softness and perseverance and resolve and is going to outlast that granite over the generations and break it down into the sand that I walk on my walks. Another example is this painting, which is called Autumn's Fury, and it was inspired by a trip to Vermont with my husband to see the leaves right before the last election, and the tension in the air between New Hampshire and Vermont was palpable, and here was this magnificent crescendo of nature at its full fury about to change profoundly. And it reminded me of the inevitability of change and that chaos always is present and it's beautiful even when it's terrifying.
I've got tons of questions about it. Your answers are so fascinating. I was thinking, I know that you've been doing a lot of the art fairs. Are they called art fairs?
Art fairs,
Art
yeah,
shows,
festivals,
and
whatever.
going around the country and bringing your work. And you used to do that a lot with your sculptures. And I remember you mentioned to me in a conversation a long time ago that you really enjoyed getting to see the viewer's response, people's response. And a lot of artists don't have that immediate experience with the buyers, with viewers.
Right.
They put their work in galleries, and then the gallery owner gets to see that response. So this is a new thing for you, is taking your paintings around
It is.
a similar circuit that you did with your sculpture. You probably see some of your same clients.
Some, yes, absolutely. And that's been really fun, and it's wonderful and very. I'm honored by the fact that some of my sculpture clients are now my painting clients. And
Are they surprised when they see your paintings? Do they, when they see your name, they probably expected to see sculptures?
Right, exactly, and yeah, they're kind of blown away, but the response has been really good, and I think for me, I'm done with galleries for the moment. I can't say that that's going to be forever, but because the interaction with the public around my work informs me, it helps me to learn whether or not my expression is hitting home, whether I am resonating with other people. And I do. I love the one-on-one interaction. But the other thing is that galleries need you to be consistent in your style and your body of work, and my work is evolving so fast right now, and I don't want to be limited to the Destiny Allison style of painting. I want to be free to create whatever it is that I feel like it's imperative for me to create at any given moment, and then bring that into the world and see how my baby stands on its own.
I admire you very much, and you're very brave, because most artists that I know, they don't want to talk about their work, and it's lovely to hear you. It's a delight to hear you be able to talk about your work, about your motivation, and feel free about that. Not all artists are articulate about their work.
I'm grateful for the gifts that I have.
Destiny, I'm so inspired hearing all of the thoughts and process that goes into your paintings. What's next? Do you have a new painting in mind that you're working on now, or that you're ready to start on?
Right now, I am in a finishing process. I just finished 4 new paintings that I'm pretty excited about. So, no, that's my husband. It's funny. He, as a sculptor way back when, he would say, "What are you going to do today?" And I would say, "I have no idea." And he says, "Well, is it going to be large or is it going to be small?" And I'd say, I don't know. And that's still true today. After all of these years as a creative, I don't know what I'm going to do each day. I start off with something, the blank panel on the wall, and I pick a color that has to do with the mood that I'm in, what I'm thinking about that day, and I start. Because for me, art is, how do I say this? Art is not merely a reflection of what we see in the world. It's the process through which we discover and share ourselves.
Oh, I really like that.
Thanks.
That's great. So now the question that probably everybody is dying for me to ask is about all of these splatters, and just to find out a little bit more about your technique.
Sure.
But first I want to say I'm looking at the splatters here, and then I'm looking at the splatters here. So I'm assuming that this is that you repaint your wall.
I do.
Over the spot. Oh, what a shame.
Well, yeah, but it gets hard to see paintings with all the different things.
Oh, so you need to clean it up once in a while.
Every so often I have to.
But the floor, the floor
the
is.
floor just becomes.
So we can get a real feel for
You
your process there on the floor. I'll do a close up there. But yes, do you mind telling a little bit about your techniques?
No. So, as I mentioned before, I started off painting landscapes. And I'm not a landscape painter. I've always been an abstract artist, and I couldn't get what I was after in a landscape. And I went to lunch with a very good friend and told her how frustrated I was. And she's like, well, then, make it not a landscape. Turn it upside down. And so I did. I came home and I turned this landscape that I'd been working on vertical. And I was so mad at it, I needed to obliterate it. And so I just started throwing paint. I mean, just throwing, working in the same palette, but just throwing. And all of a sudden, there I was. And what I realized is that for me, in the same way that I got into sculpture, I think too much, and when I'm physical, my brain stops, and I can get in touch with my heart and with all the other things that I experience besides the thoughts in my head. And that moment was the opportunity for my body to take over, for me to get out of my head and really start to express what I was trying to express. That first painting I call The Deep of Winter, and it captured everything that I was trying to do in a landscape without being a landscape, and that's when I discovered my voice as a painter. So I throw, I fling, I twist, I drip, and then as the painting starts to come together, that's when I come in with brushstrokes, and very carefully, just sitting with the piece for long times. I'll sit and I'm almost like, okay, I see something, and I run up to it and, okay, put that dot of color in. And when there's no more places to put dots, when there's not another color that's going to make a difference, when I'm quiet with a piece and I feel still inside myself, that's when a painting is done.
So just to break it down to the bare bones,
yes.
You use your hand and your whole body.
Yes, my whole body.
First.
Yes.
And then you go in with a brush
right.
to fine tune.
Right.
Very interesting.
Well, like for example, on this piece behind me, this was lots of loop strokes and slash strokes. And you can see how I turned the painting because the drips are going horizontal instead of vertical. But some of the lines weren't complete, so I had to come in with a brush stroke and take them further and bring the whole piece together and make sense out of it, because a lot of my work is chance, and that's fun and that's exciting, but it doesn't actually communicate anything, right? So I have to come in and fix it. And this piece I thought was done, and I was sitting with it and I was looking at it and like, but the color's behind the gold. This piece I call The Golden Thread, and it's about love and how love breaks your heart wide open, but also connects you with every living thing on this planet. And so behind it was just a little dull, and so I had to come in with some brighter greens to bring that focus in. I had to take some of these lines all the way through and carry them so that the piece became complete. I guess the best way to say it.
So a lot of sort of a randomness in the beginning,
right.
allowing the paint and your feelings to create a kind of a beginning.
Right.
And then you work it.
Exactly. Yeah, because the pieces, as I'm working, the pieces are teaching me as much as I'm shaping them. And I have to listen to what the work is trying to tell me instead of trying to control it. And it's only when I start to hear, there's a great expression, it's in my high school yearbook, it's how do I know what I think until I see what I say? And my paintings are very much that.
Destiny, I can't thank you enough for this wonderful opportunity to see you in your studio and get right from the artist's mouth your process.
Mouth, you know?
Your process, getting to see some of your paintings in process and some of them newly finished, your wall. I just can't thank you enough, and I know your time is precious being in the studio, and thank you again.
Oh, Nancy, thank you. And for everybody watching this, I just want to give accolades to my dear friend Nancy Reyner. Nancy, I call her the acrylic queen. She has 4 amazing books out. She has been a mentor to me through this process of transition. And you can find out more about Nancy at nancyrayner.com, and definitely check her out.
Oh, thanks, Destiny.
Absolutely.